All right, I'd like to welcome you to this week's report. Today is Thursday, October 7th. It's been another windy week here in Southern California. Offshore winds this time, which is made for tough conditions. Kept most guys off the water, but the good news is it doesn't really mess up conditions offshore. So, while it was windy, we're going to have wind. This is the kind of wind I want. Speaking of wind, there's not much this weekend. It looks pretty fishable everywhere Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's good news. The bad news is there's not been much coverage, so I'm not exactly sure what's going to be happening, but I will go over what I know. Before I get into it, I know we're getting to a little bit slower time of year here, and I appreciate you guys tuning in every week. If there's anything in particular you'd like to see me cover, please leave a comment, and I will try to get to it. Also, I'd really appreciate it if you would click the subscribe button for BD Outdoors on YouTube. It helps us with advertisers, and more subscribers I get, the more likely I am to be kept on next year, which I'm hoping they'll do. I'm pretty sure they will. And always appreciate a like on my videos. If you enjoyed the video, just go ahead and like it. You know, it's a small thing you can do, and it helps me out, so I appreciate it very much. And always feel free to leave comments. Last week I had an interesting comment about a complaint about this being 2-week-old info, and I appreciate that because I actually had live video, or not live video, practically live video from 4 hours before I did the report of bee fish and bass and up-to-date stuff, but I guess you can't please everybody. And you know, yeah, it's disappointing. It's not red hot, it's not the middle of summer, and there's not always going to be something great new to report. You know, speaking of that, before I get into my general reports, you're going to win on a tangent here. You know, I'm going to hold off on that. So there's a little teaser for you guys. You can hang in here, and I'll tell you a funny story in a little bit. Yeah, sorry about that. I had to recently get hearing aids, and they were just itching me like crazy right now, and I had to deal with that. A funny story that I will share is that I bought these. They now sell hearing aids over the counter. I got one on Amazon. They were about, I don't know, $1,500–$1,600. They work great. They're rechargeable. Little case you can plug it in. If you've been holding off on getting hearing aids, definitely get them. I know my dad has been not wearing his. It's really driven our family a little bit crazy over the years here. So I figured as I started to go deaf, I would get some as well. But I took them off, put them in my charger one day, and I went fishing because I don't wear them on the boat. And I came home. My wife was cleaning the house. I got to put the charger in, and I noticed, or you go get the hearing aids, and notice the charger's on the ground and empty. So I said, "Did you knock the charger off the tails?" "No, I don't think so." I said, "Can you help me look for the hearing aids?" So we looked for about an hour and finally found one chewed to pieces, and we never found the other one. And I'm really glad I don't know which dog did it, because they would definitely be in a proverbial doghouse, because I had the things for less than a week. I had to spend another $1,500 getting another set. That's just a side story. I think I might have told that before, but as I get older, I don't remember those things either all the time. Yeah, anyway, so decent weather where we got some good fishing options available. They're not great. And let's head to the Channel Islands and get started. So up there, you know, they're fishing rockfish. That's basically it. I know the Aloha Spirit was out. I talked to Pat, who runs the boat, earlier today. He says he's got some trips online this weekend, hopefully. Looks like the next opening they have is tomorrow and then Sunday. Looks like they're running both days, I think. They're having to fish deeper than 350 feet of water. So that's something to keep in mind. Or maybe 300 feet. I'll look it up and post here. So you're not fishing that real shallow stuff, but they're getting a nice grade of reds and lings up there. If I wanted to fish rockfish anywhere, I'd go up there, just to have a better grade of fish. Just remember, you can only keep 2 reds and 1 chucklehead, so that kind of limits you. You're going to have to fish a lot deeper to catch chilies and things like that to round out your bag in that depth. A little deep side for Johnny bass, and you really don't want Picacho or Mexican reds. So something to keep in mind. You know, private boaters that are fishing rockfish, wherever you're fishing rockfish, especially on some of the rockfish banks like the 9 or the 14 or any of those. When I was at the 14 last Saturday or last Thursday, I noticed that there's just a tremendous amount of boats drifting right on the high spot where It says the 14-mile bank on the chart. That's all I can describe it as. The bank is not a waypoint. The bank is a huge piece of structure that surrounds a waypoint. And another thing, a piece of advice we give private boaters that will help you immensely is don't just stop and drift when you mark anything at all on the bottom. Rockfish that you want to catch will mark suspending up off the bottom, 20 to maybe 50 or 60 feet, 100 feet off the bottom if you're deep enough. And to find those, you're going to want to have your fish finder set to a lower setting. So I have a chirp fish finder, or chirp transducer on my boat. It comes in a high chirp and medium chirp. Some people have low chirp. Some people have 85 kilohertz, 200 kilohertz that don't have chirp. You want the lower setting. I fish medium chirp, and then I scroll or zoom in my fish finder, so I'm only looking at the bottom 100 feet of the water column on my graph. That gives you a much better idea of what's going on down there than driving around in 800 feet of water looking at 730 feet of empty water to see something that's this big on the bottom. Another piece of advice is slow down while you're driving. I have an outboard on my boat, obviously, and I basically, when I'm driving and looking, I have the boat just clicked into gear. I'm going maybe 1.5 knots. At that depth, if you drive any faster, you're going to miss everything. Also, when you find those spots of suspended fish and life, and a lot of times you're marking bait that these fish are feeding on, you want to stop right on top of them. So I set up on rockfish the same way I set up on a small rock fishing sand bass or anything else. And I actually have some video of my SoCal Bight Fishing Academy breaking that down. How to, mark the spot, spin around, get set up for proper drift. And that will keep you in the bite zone. And once you're out of those marks, just wind up and don't drop again. What's going to happen if you just drop randomly, most of the fish you're going to be catching are this big, or they're going to be stuff you don't want, Picacio, Mexican reds, junk like that. If you drop and stop on these exact spots, you're going to catch fish you want to catch, be it chilies or reds or whatever. And if you have a trolling motor, use spot lock. I'm actually going to get a trolling motor again. I decided the other day. Navico and Lowrance and also Simrad, they're coming out with saltwater trolling motors. So I'm going to pick one of those up. I'm not sure which one yet, but yeah, that's just my advice on rockfish. And also, don't leave when you drop down, don't leave it laying on the bottom. Wind it up 10 feet, 20 feet. I do it 10 feet at a time. I hit the bottom, I wind up 10 feet just to get the sinker from getting snagged. Stop and say, I get a bite? No. And I'm waiting maybe 10 or 15 seconds. Another 10 feet, another 10 feet. Depending on the depth, I'll go up to 70 or 80 feet. But often, I'll get bites mostly about 30 feet off the bottom. So, yeah, that's rockfish stuff. I might do next time I go for rockfish, I might do a SoCal Bight Fishing Academy on how to set the boat and everything like that. But in the meantime, just take my advice on it. So heading down here, very little coverage again. Thunderbird had one day that they went to Clemente, I think. They did pretty well on yellows. They're getting there on squid. Nobody else getting off the dock right now. I'm imagining some boats get off the dock this weekend. And if they're going to Clemente, they'll probably catch some yellows and rockfish, maybe some bass. I was going to maybe fish this weekend and go back to Cap. I ended up staying home because the weather was funky. And I got my rod room and my office cleaned up, which is nice. Makes me feel a lot better about being productive. And I'll tell you what, if you guys have a project you've been putting off, that my area where I wrap rods and do all my video editing and stuff has been a mess, and it really sucks the life out of you. So if you've been having a tough time getting motivated to do stuff, just clean up. Sometimes that's all you need to get going. Haven't heard much else along the coast too much up here. Hold on a second, let me verify that before I do have some notes, not many. Yeah, there's some halibut being caught. My friend Brandon Volgamont went out over the weekend, got a nice halibut out of a Long Beach Harbor. I saw that Chris Monroy was out today. He had a couple halibut. I don't know where he's fishing. He just showed tail sticking out of a bucket. But I guess that time of year for bounce ballers and stuff like that. And the only thing I find worse than fishing a kite for tuna is bounce balling for halibut. But if you guys like doing it, it's almost that time of year. And also the native sun is finishing up in the yard, and they're going to be running their halibut derbies. So you guys will have a boat to follow around and drift around and foul up all day if that's your inclination as well. I heard from Kieran Murphy down in Carlsbad, if I can find it here. He fished over the weekend. He said, super cold water, 59 degrees, and patchy dark red tide from Oceanside to North Encinitas. Hard bass fishing up at the Rockfish again, Oceanside is good. So that's that. No pictures. Doesn't sound too promising. Sounds a lot like up here. We had a lot of red tide up here when I was out last Thursday as well. The Coronados, there's still some fish down there. The boats just aren't getting off the dock, and maybe this weekend, I don't know. They're got to relocate the whole thing, I think. Offshore, no one's been out to Tanner or Cortez. Last weekend there was some bluefin outside and below the Coronados. Who knows where those things are? No one's been looking this week. Actually, I do have a report on that, but the yellowfin down south have kind of slowed down. And it may just need to be that there's not enough traffic. Somebody needs to relocate them. I'm sure some boats get off the dock this weekend with the weather we have, and they might find them. I talked to Marcus, who went down over the last weekend and had nice yellowfin fishing. He got a couple nice ones. Some of the boats, my friend Larry was on the Aztec. I think they had fished 127 pounds. So here's more of that 2-week-old news you guys like to complain about. But yeah, so still a good grade of fish. Nobody's seeing them. Nobody's down there really. I think the only boats going through there right now might be a long-range boat driving back and forth because they're too far for the private boaters to go fish. So I'm sure some guys will go looking down there. I saw. So the thing I want to talk about was. Let me find it first here. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, I don't know if you guys are familiar with John Ho. He's a guy that fishes a lot of half day down in San Diego. Does a whole lot of Facebook posting, and I got Pat here calling me from the Aloha Spirit. Yeah, sorry about that. Pat is calling me back about an article I'll be writing about him for the next issue of Pacific Coast Sport Fishing about how they fish up that way. So anyway, the report I saw was that the Pacific Queen returned from a 2-day trip with 11 bluefin tuna and 4 yellowtail for 28 anglers, and John Ho posted about that. And one of the posters actually posted that you shouldn't be posting reports like that. It looks bad for the boat, and they probably don't want that information out. And it kind of just shows you the shift in mindset over the last few years. The fact that you got 11 bluefin tuna in November and some yellowtail. I mean, 20 years ago, if we got that report in August, it would have got the fleet off the dock. So, it's. I think we have this weird sense of entitlement right now because the fishing's been so good, and the fact you catch 100-pound yellowfin in a day and a half range in November, the end of October. We're coming to a La Nina here. This has not always been this way. It's. I was thinking about it earlier today. Thinking about what I wanted to talk about, and when I first started working on a boat in 1987, it wasn't until the end of summer of 1988 that we even saw a sardine. All we had was anchovy, and that started back in. I don't know. I probably started fishing sport boats in 82, maybe 80, no, probably, yeah, when my dad was a kid, 80. Probably seriously started fishing in 83, 84, and there was no anchovies. There was no sardines, only anchovies. I remember working on the Victor the first day we got a tank of sardines. I'd never seen more than 1 or 2 in a bait tank. And we'd been catching sand bass and barracuda down at the flats, and we took those sardines, went to the rock pile and the horseshoe and caught like 60 yellowtail. I think we caught 10 yellowtail that whole summer. So things are changed dramatically since then. You know that we had years where we had great sand bass and barracuda fish. We haven't had a sand bass here and a sand bass spawn here at least 10 years or maybe closer to 15 years. That was anywhere remotely close to what we used to have. And I don't think that's because they were fished out. I think they were on the extreme northern end of their range. And, you know, I have books that I got as a kid that were used. Charlie Davis from Hookup, his dad also wrote a book, and, you know, that was written back in the 50s. They used to call sand bass rock bass. They weren't associated with the sand or spawning. They were just, you catch them on rocks. They weren't around. They showed up, and then they left. The barracuda bites we used to have good bonita fishing. There used to be salmon that you catch occasionally, but at the same time, other species wouldn't bite. I mean, it used to be, when I was a teenager, the only tuna we had a shot at of Long Beach was bluefin on the Cortez or Tanner in the fall. Unless you went on a day and a half trip to catch albacore, but you know, the albacore weren't up here every year. Last year the albacore bit, they were like 100 miles away. So we've had some really good fishing here lately, and it's gonna change again. Might change for the better, who knows? Maybe it's be wide open swordfish and marlin everywhere for the half-day boats this summer. Probably not. So just keep that in mind, and don't set your expectations on following fish counts and seeing what they caught last week. That's not where the joy of fishing is. The real joy of fishing is going out, dealing with whatever the conditions present you, catching some fish, having a good time if you're on your own boat with your buddies, if you're on a sport boat, enjoying a burger and a beer, and you know, camaraderie of your fellow anglers, and you know, just keep that in mind. So we're getting to that slower time of year, and I know a lot of the sport boats and charter boats and stuff, they still need your business. So the tackle stores, if you're a private boater, they still will need your business, you know, the bait barge, everything else. So don't just say, oh, they didn't catch 150 tuna last week, I'm not going. So yeah, that's I guess that's my rant for the week, and I gotta call Pat back, but I hope you guys have a great weekend and good luck if you fish.